In Tucson, Arizona, where the desert air hums with heat and saguaros reach for cloudless skies, lived a girl with an uncommon dream. Her name was Emily Carter. She grew up near Reed Park Zoo. While other kids played on swings or watched cartoons, Emily stood silently by the lion enclosure, just watching. She was only 6 when she first locked eyes with an old male lion whose fur had thinned and whose roar had faded. But in his silence, Emily heard something. It wasn't a sound. It was a plea. Every weekend, she returned. While other children ran past the cages, she stayed. Notebook in hand, heart at her throat. She wrote things no one told her to write. How many times a lion paced, what he looked at, how often he rested. She didn't understand ethology or animal welfare yet, but she understood sadness. And she understood that these lions, kings of distant lands, were not meant to grow old behind iron bars. At 8 years old, Emily made a vow. When I grow up, I will bring them home. Her parents thought it was just a phase. It wasn't. By the time she was 15, she had already volunteered at local animal shelters and won school science fairs with projects on lion behavior. She devoured books on African ecology and memorized the names of every big cat species. Other kids had posters of pop stars. Emily had a lioness and her cub taped to her wall. When it came time for college, there was no question. Emily enrolled at the University of Arizona, majoring in animal biology. She studied hard, often the last to leave the lab, always the first to arrive for early morning field work. But it wasn't grades she chased. It was purpose. She focused on captive lion behavior, how captivity affected their sleep cycles, muscle structure, even mood. Her professors noticed her obsession. Some called it admirable. Others called it impractical. But Emily knew better. She wasn't just studying lions. She was preparing to free them. After graduating with honors, Emily returned to Reed Park Zoo, not as a visitor this time, but as a staff biologist. Every day she cleaned cages, administered medications, fed the lions, and took notes. Lots of them. She knew each lion by name, by stride, by the shape of their breath when they exhaled. One of them, Max, was different. He was old, tired. His mane had dulled to a dry gray halo. He walked with effort and rarely lifted his head. But when Emily approached, he responded. He blinked slowly. He leaned toward her voice. She knew he had more life in him. He just needed a chance. That's when the dream resurfaced, louder this time. What if she didn't just care for these lions in captivity? What if she found a way to send them home? Emily began researching late into the night. She discovered the complexities of international animal transport, the need for permits, veterinary records, DNA lineage. She learned about post-release monitoring in quarantine zones. She read everything she could on rewilding, the process of returning captive animals to nature. Then she found it. Shamari Private Game Reserve in South Africa. Located in the Eastern Cape, it was known for successful reintroduction programs and vast protected lands. Emily wrote a long, heartfelt email to the reserve. She shared Max's story, her dream, and her readiness to help. Weeks passed. Then came a reply from a ranger named Tabo Miko. He was young, passionate, and determined, like Emily, and he believed in her mission. He invited her to visit. When Emily landed in South Africa, it felt like breathing for the first time. The red earth, the golden light, the distant roar of lions carried on the wind. Tabo met her at the airport, shaking her hand with a wide grin. "Welcome to the beginning," he said. For days, they walked the land together. They saw wild elephants moving like shadows, rhinos grazing beneath thorn trees, and lions, real lions, stretching, stalking, roaring in the open air. Emily couldn't speak. She didn't need to. Tears did the talking. Together, she and Tabo built a plan, Home for Lions. They would take aged or retired lions from American zoos and return them gradually and safely to the African wild. There would be quarantine zones, enrichment areas, training habitats, legal documents, donor coordination, transport logistics. It would be massive, expensive, and worth every second. Emily flew home full of fire. Back in Tucson, she approached Reed Park Zoo's board. She showed them data, studies, photos, videos. She showed them Max. The board listened, and to her surprise, they said yes. Emily began fundraising immediately. She partnered with international NGOs, wildlife supporters, even a few celebrities who believed in her cause. Within weeks, she had the backing. The first lion to make the journey would be Max. Emily sat with him the night before departure. He was calm, almost knowing. She whispered, "Tomorrow we go home." He blinked once, then closed his eyes. The journey wasn't easy. Max was sedated gently, placed into a reinforced crate with bed of straw and cooling fans. Emily flew with him the entire way, hand resting against the side of his crate. When they landed in South Africa, Tabo was waiting. Max was taken to a medical station for monitoring. The heat, the smells, the sounds, all new, all overwhelming. But Emily and Tabo were by his side. Every hour, every meal, every checkup. Weeks passed. Then one morning, Max stood straighter. He growled. He scratched at a tree stump. Emily smiled. Tabo nodded. "It's time." They opened the gate. Max stepped out into the grass. He paused, sniffed the air, and then walked, not like a caged animal, but like a king returning to his throne. That night, as the sun melted into the horizon, Max roared. For the first time in decades, it echoed without walls. Emily cried. Word spread quickly. Zoos across the country contacted her. More lions were approved for reintroduction. Within 3 months, 4 more arrived, each one with a story, each one with scars. But Emily treated them like royalty. She and Tabo worked every day, training, feeding, monitoring. They gave the lions real meat to hunt. They introduced them to live environments. They helped them forget captivity and remember who they were. And one by one, they roared again. News outlets covered the story. National Geographic called. Conservationists from around the world praised the program. But Emily never cared about the fame. She cared about the moment a lion stopped pacing, started running, started living. Today, Emily Carter is more than a biologist. She's a liberator, a voice for the voiceless, a guardian of kings. She lives part-time at Chamery, working with Tabo to expand the project. They built new holding zones, upgraded tracking systems, and even begun developing programs for leopards and cheetahs. In her quiet moments, she still visits Max, now grayer, slower, but free. She sits beside him under the acacia trees. Sometimes she speaks. Sometimes she just listens. And every now and then, he leans into her side, like he remembers. Emily's journey isn't finished. It's only beginning. Because for every Max, there are 100 more, waiting, not for sympathy, but for freedom. And Emily Carter is coming for them.